You're listening to Honestly Mental, the podcast, and I'm your host, Erika Diaz. I'm a wife, a mama, a woman in leadership, but y'all, I'm a perfectly imperfect human. I have depression, PTSD, and generalized anxiety disorder, and I am figuring it out every single day. It's really been quite the journey, so this podcast aims to provide a raw and authentic approach to several issues surrounding mental health. Through the lens of our guests and I, we will provide insight into how we navigated our own challenges through honest and vulnerable conversation. We are building a community of individuals committed to changing the world one conversation, one person at a time. We are raising awareness by destigmatizing mental health through continuing the conversation. We are providing hope and ultimately have a goal of saving the lives of those who may be feeling dark and alone. Thank you, listeners, for joining in. On today's episode, we will be talking about sweat and self-esteem, conquering self-doubt, and finding my power with Christie Heintz. Christie Heintz is a boy mom of two, wife, and part of the shared services leadership team at a global workforce solutions company. She was born and raised in Austin, Texas, and moved to Denver in 2012. Christie attended the University of Texas and has a degree in art history, and she started her career in human resources in 2008. Many times during Christie's life, when difficult situations occurred, she turned to improving her physical fitness and going so far as to compete in an NPC bikini competition in 2017, which I just think is phenomenal because I don't think I would have the guts to do that. So, Christie, thank you so much for joining. I am thrilled to have you here and talk about just self-doubt and how you powered through things with finding joy in working out. So why don't we start off by you telling us a little bit about why you're here, and then we can dive into things.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I feel really lucky to be part of this. I can't wait to see how you change lives and minds through your platform. I think this is a really great thing that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think for me, I have discovered that I have underlying depressive moods. So I go in and out of these kind of depressive episodes. And as a young person, I struggled a lot with self-esteem. And I think that was mainly because I didn't think I was good enough. And I still think that sometimes, even it's just been, a lifelong thought in the very back of my head. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. And so, not pretty enough. I wasn't playing sports. I wasn't athletic enough. I wasn't talented enough. All of those things. And so I think I turned later in life when I experienced some difficult situations, I kind of discovered that the one thing that I could find strength in is going and working out and feeling strong and feeling more self-confident.
Yeah. And, let's go back too, because if I remember correctly, you started experiencing self-doubt when you were a young child in grade school.
Yes.
And one of the things that I wanted to mention is that you're not alone in that. And approximately 80% of children experience a decline in self-confidence when they start school. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that while you may have been young, it's certainly almost a trigger for that self-esteem and self-confidence to waver when you start grade school. So why don't you take us back and walk us through kind of what life looked like, especially when you were in and out of these bouts of what we would call now imposter syndrome when you think about it.
Yeah.
And would love to hear, how that kind of impacted your life.
Yeah, I think just being super critical of myself and comparing myself to others, which I know we can all say, don't do that. But it's so hard because you do see other people succeeding or doing things that you wish you could do well. And it's just hard not to think, man, I wish I could do that, or why can't I do that too? And especially today with all of the social media and people posting, I know it's a saying, I think the term is happy washing. You see all these people doing all these things and, posting all of their happy moments, and you're not seeing the other side of that, or, their bad days. And I just remember thinking there were some people in my life growing up, they just never seemed like they ever had a bad day. And I was like, why do I have bad days? It doesn't seem to affect this person, So it was just always like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. And I could see how one could do that. And I think you're right with the happy washing. So, I didn't even grow up on social media, and it came when I was in high school. I think towards the end of high school is really when it became a thing for me. But you see that on the outside with other people that you're surrounded by typically too. And that's one of the things that this podcast aims to do, is to talk about the bad days and the dark times and the things that happen that people generally aren't forthright coming out and saying, hey, I had a really crappy day today and I just want to tell the world about it. I really think we would be better off societally if we had more honest conversations and utilize social media in that way for the good and the bad, because I just think it would be more, it would just be more human, really, at the end of the day. COVID kind of did some of that when all of a sudden we were in our homes and you have kids coming on screens or dogs going wild in the background and all of that. It really made everybody more human to one another. And so anyway, that's exactly what we're doing here today, is to get away from the happy washing and talking about the reality of life, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Exactly. I think we all have bad days, and we all have our own coping mechanisms. And I think only in hindsight is when I figured out that this was something that I used as a coping mechanism. So it's interesting to think back and realize, oh, wow, I use this as a way to ground myself and, find strength within myself, and not looking outwardly to have somebody validate me, but to do it on my own.
And that's so huge. I struggle with that personally in seeking external validation. So in my other episodes, I've talked about body movement, and really I'm just always learning from my guests on these episodes. But I could do a better job probably in really looking at body movement, working out as a way to have that solid self-confidence, and you share about the power behind it, right? And then the boost it can give you. So I'm definitely excited to be chatting on this topic again, because I still am not there personally. But I think it's really phenomenal that you especially starting at such a young age, have in many ways overcome the low self-esteem and the self-doubt that you would experience and the comparisons that you would draw to others. But you're humble enough to say you still have bad days, right? And I think we all do.
Yes. Yeah. And it's okay to have a bad day. I think you do have to have those ups and downs. I think it's just part of being a whole person. I can't imagine being happy all the time. I can't imagine being sad all the time. I think that there are days when I need to feel sad, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there are no good feelings or bad feelings. Feelings and emotions are just that, feelings and emotions. And there's a wide spectrum of emotions. I think it's up over 80 now that are recognized, yet most people still only focus on sad, mad, and happy. So it's really helpful to be able to step back and say, it's okay to have an off day.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up and you mentioned going through kind of depressive moods from time to time, what do those challenges look like for you on a difficult day? What does that um I guess what do you have to do to get out of those situations? That's a two-part question, I guess, right? Would
Right.
love to understand how it impacted you and your life, and then how you found the joy of working out.
Yeah. So I think on those days when I was feeling down, I think it looked like me isolating. Um,
Mm,
I tend to go inward and, just trying to get away from people, um, which is ironic because the way I get out of it is by being with people, and,
yep.
talking to friends and talking to family. Um, but on those days when I am feeling it, I tend to try to be by myself. I journal. So that's a way for me just to kind of freeform, write what I'm feeling and get it out. I think knowing how I'm feeling and being able to articulate it is important. And I think I've gotten better over the years, but I'm still not perfect at it. So those days I feel like I don't want to do anything, but I want to do something, but I don't know what that something is. And so it's this really like, you know, um, okay, I don't feel like doing anything, but I don't want to do nothing. So what do I do? And that's kind of those days. That's my thought process is, how am I going to get out of this? Well, getting out of it is I reach out to friends. I have a group text with all my girlfriends. We're all over the place. We live in all different states. Um, but we have a group text. So sometimes it's just me sending a text to them and starting a conversation because we're all very, if someone sends out a message, it just starts it and it gets on a roll and we'll talk the rest of the day and via text and it's so much fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I really lean on them a lot.
When you are having a down day, do you find yourself at times also like, I mean, you did your bikini competition, and I go back to that because
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't know that for those listening at home really fully understand and can appreciate the amount of work that you had to put into to get to a place where you were confident enough to stand up in front of individuals in a bikini. You know what I mean? But it was also about muscle tone in your body and all of that. So,
Yes.
on those down days, how do you find the strength, if you will, to say, you know what, I really need to work out today. Maybe I'm not going to push it at 100%, but like, what does that look like in your world from that perspective?
Yeah, I think showing up for myself some days is really hard. But
Yeah.
I when my first son was born, I joined a gym and that I've carried that membership through today. I'm still a member, almost 15 years later.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and it's kind of one of those constants, right? Like I know what to expect when I go to the gym. And even if I don't quite feel like going to the gym, I don't have to go lift weights or do cardio. I can go swim. The gym I have has a sauna and they have a steam room and they have a pool and they have all these options. They have a rock climbing wall. They have, just an open gym type of situation. So on those days when I'm not quite feeling like I need to go lift weights or do a full hour workout, I will, sometimes just go and do a couple laps in the pool and that weightless feeling and just kind of it's, low impact, it doesn't take much
Yeah.
energy to go do some, laps in the pool. That's kind of just showing up. And once I'm there, I'm usually good to go. If I get there and I, can start, I usually don't want to stop. I get, a little energy from it. So on those low energy days, making myself go will give me that energy I need.
Yeah. And I mean, regular exercise it's known to reduce anxiety. It helps, your brain's fight or flight system less reactive. And so I can see how even it just goes back to basic body movement. Even if you're not doing a bikini competition, it is just moving your body, getting your heart rate up and doing things and showing up for yourself. I think that's huge.
Yeah. So after my divorce, I was by myself. I had my son 50% of the time, so I had a lot of free time.
Yes.
And having a lot of free time when you're sad and lonely is not good. So I sought out a trainer for myself, and I started seeing my trainer back in probably 2015. She's still my trainer today. She's fabulous. And, I think by doing that, it kept me accountable, right? Because I had meetings with her every week, and, she was always there for me. And when I needed to feel strong, I did. And, I think the decision to do a bikini competition, I really can't even tell you how that came about, but I think I was just really feeling good about things. And I just felt like it was a challenge that I was up for. And it was a lot of hard work, but also, like I said, I had a lot of free time. So it was a good time for me to have something to just pour all my energy into. When my son wasn't home, I had the gym, I had my workouts, I had my nutrition, I had my meal prepping to do. And, getting ready for a show is no joke. And I don't recommend doing it without a trainer or a coach because please don't go out and try to do a competition without a coach. I will say, though, that going through the process made me more disciplined. And I kind of didn't have time to get down on myself because I needed to stay on that program if I was going to meet my goal. And the feeling of accomplishment the day after my show, that was probably the best day because I had completed and achieved my goal. And just the feeling afterwards was amazing. I don't think you can get that kind of feeling any other way other than, doing something, committing to it and achieving your goal.
Yeah. And, I think it was so huge that you poured your energy into all of that. But at the end of the day, you were showing up for yourself 100%, and I imagine that was a boost of self-confidence as well.
Absolutely. And also people could see, they noticed, oh, what are you doing? And I would get questions, and I just got so much positive reinforcement during that time. It was really nice. I had people on my side and people rooting for me, but it really didn't matter because I was doing it for myself, but it was just a nice thing to have. And my trainer, she says, you can be a really good employee and never get that raise or never get that promotion. You can be a really good wife and still have a bad marriage or get cheated on or, something happen. And with the gym, you just have to show up. You get out what you put in.
Yeah.
It's a constant, and it's something that was there for me when I needed it.
And now your life is a little different, right? You have
yes.
a little one and
yes.
you are married, and I don't know about you. I know that your son is younger than mine, and I definitely don't have time to meal prep or any of those.
yeah.
So what's that look like in your household these days?
Yeah. So it's funny. I don't get to the gym as much as I used to. And I do think I partly contribute that to my healthy, balanced marriage and life and all the things that are going on that are good. It's one of those things that I just haven't felt like the super need to have, like I have in the past when I was going through difficult times. I do still really enjoy it. And I still see my trainer Rosie every week. And, we just have the best time working out and laughing and talking about all kinds of stuff. And so for me today, it's really just something I try to maintain. I don't get to the gym as much as I would like to. I have, some equipment at home. If I can sneak away from Grayson for a few minutes, I can do a little workout here at home. But yeah, today it's hard to find the time. But I do what I can.
Well, and I mean, you're moving your body in different ways because I'm sure you're running around chasing Grayson and doing all the things that little kids want to do and are driving us bonkers and, have us off a rocker from time to time, but it's still movement.
Yes.
And
yes, we play we chase dragons, we look for monsters, we play catch, we get on the floor and crawl around. It's, it is a lot of body movement to keep up with it.
I love that. I would like to chase some dragons with Oliver. He's not quite into dragons, but he is into dinosaurs and trucks. So maybe there's something there.
Yes, yes.
But he's always there. Kids are always down on the ground and really just moving around themselves. So if you're with them and in their company, you tend to follow that suit, yes. And it's still beneficial. So, Christie, as a leader in your company, you manage a team and you focus on different strategic initiatives that improve things like employee relationships, the customer experience, all of the things HR that are related to the contingent space. How does your mental health play into that side of you, if you will? And then on your days where maybe it's a struggle bus day, how do you pull yourself out of it?
Yeah, there are a lot of days where it just seems like there's so much to do and not enough time to do it. And that can be frustrating because you want to do a good job and you want to keep up. And so being behind or feeling like you're not as responsive as you want to be can be one of those things where you're like, wow, I'm just not doing a good job. I'm failing. And I think my team feels it too sometimes. And so I have to rally them. So getting myself rallied is sometimes a chore. But I think that for me, I do try to keep in perspective, right? Like we can only do so much and we have to stay healthy ourselves. And we do need that energy and time to regroup. I recently took a class about time management, and it was basically about how, we have this finite amount of time. And if you want to be your best, you do have to take breaks. You can't continuously work and work and work and eat at your desk and answer the emails and attend all the meetings and do your best job. You do have to take those breaks. And so I like to take walks. I like to just go outside when it's a nice day, and maybe I call my brother and have just a fun conversation with him or a friend. And those are the kind of things that keep me grounded. Like, oh yeah, I don't have to be at my desk all day to be a good employee. To be a good employee, I need to take care of myself. And those are some of the ways I take care of myself.
Yeah. And as a leader, you have other people counting on you too. So as a, being a wife and a mom and a woman in leadership, just like, the basis of my podcast is, right? You have other people relying on you. So you have to show up for others too. And I know that can be challenging at times.
Yes. I mean, there's been times where I just want to go cry for 20 minutes and then I come back to my desk and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to get it out of the system and feel all your feels. And that can sometimes just be so clearing. And if your mind is clear, you show up better.
Yeah. How do you think taking time for yourself in those moments to step away, like, how do you think that helps, like, you lead by example with your team? How do you work with them if they are having a down and low day, to, make sure on the days where maybe there's frustration because there aren't enough hours in the day? I feel like that's a constant thing that occurs, especially for high performing individuals.
Yeah.
What does showing up for them look like? And then how do they reciprocate that? Like, what does the team dynamic look like?
Yeah, I do have a lot of high performers on my team. So they do get stressed when they can't get everything done or they can't perform at their best because there's too many meetings or they're struggling with technology sometimes. Like they can't get logged into something. And so it's delaying their ability to do something for a customer. Sometimes showing up for them is just giving them advice or talking them through something, basically helping them prioritize. And sometimes it's during a one-on-one if they're expressing some stress or some difficulties. Sometimes I'll say, let's not have this one-on-one today. Why don't you go take a walk, go do something, go do that thing you've been meaning to do. And we'll catch up later. Just take this time. It's already blocked out on your calendar. Pretend like we're meeting, but go do something for yourself. And I think they appreciate kind of me seeing that they need that and letting them have that time back. Because a lot of times the stress comes from not having time. And so giving them time back is sometimes the best way I can give them,
support them,
what they need. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. I think, what I know about you, and I've been fortunate enough to work with you side by side. And I do think you show up as a vulnerable leader and somebody who creates an environment where people can bring their true self and their whole self. And I think that, we need more leaders like that throughout the world. But I just want to highlight that with you because I've seen it. I think, you do a really good job leading by example with your team. So it doesn't surprise me whatsoever that you are selfless and willing to say, you know what, if right now isn't the best for us, why don't you go find time, go take the time to do what you've been meaning to do and you just haven't gotten to. And I guarantee that your employees and your team members appreciate you for it greatly.
Yeah, well, I've had some good managers and mentors, and so I have them to thank for the way that I think that I lead today. Just having experienced some really good leadership in the past.
Yeah, that's always helpful when we have those role models to model the same behaviors that we want to see. And so you're now in the position to do the same for others. I think it's kind of that like full circle, from that mentor-mentee relationship to now you've moved beyond mentee, although I know that you still have mentors, but you're a mentor yourself, right? And so I think it's just, like I said, it brings it full circle. It's just a phenomenal thing that happens when we show up every day and bring ourselves. So what does it look like when you need to seek out help? So I know you talked a little bit already about the group chat that you have. You've talked about how you can show up for your team when they need help and support. What does it look like when Christie needs to reach out for support and railing kind of behind you? What does it look like?
I do have a therapist that I talk to kind of on an as needed basis. She is a great person that I can just kind of talk through things with. And she can ask me questions and we can get to the root cause of some things pretty quickly and work through it and talk through it. And so she's a great resource for me.
As all therapists are, I'm just a huge believer that whether or not you struggle with mental illness, like myself, right? I feel like extra work sometimes. But I do think therapy is such a great tool for anybody to utilize. And it's somebody who is unbiased and helps bring clarity to what may be going on in your life. So I just commend you for one, seeking out the help in that way, and continuing to do so even on an as needed basis.
Yeah, I really have found therapy to be a good place for me to work out things, because I may not want to talk to my husband or my mom about some things. They're going to be on my side no matter what. I need somebody to ask me those hard questions. And so it's nice to have somebody. Yeah. And sidetrack, I started therapy actually when I was married to my ex-husband. We went to marriage counseling and we thought that they were going to fix us. And after a few sessions, they basically said, yeah, you guys are not a good fit anymore. And maybe one day you were, and now you're not. And let's help you pull this apart. And they actually helped us through our divorce to make it very amicable. And so started therapy there and continued and been going on and off. So it's been a huge, huge help.
And those big life changes are so helpful to have somebody navigate the both of you guys in that scenario. And, I think that is great that you did it together. And as you said, things remained amicable throughout with the support of a professional in that scenario.
Yeah. I guess I never really thought about marriage counseling being there to help you dissolve your marriage. I always thought it was there to help you, work on your marriage and stay together. But in our case, it really did kind of open our eyes to all the things that were different and that we really had grown apart, and it really wasn't repairable at that point. So it's interesting.
And that's what therapists do. Yeah, I bet. I can't imagine, but interesting experience for sure. But in the same breath, that's exactly what a therapist does, is helps navigate through life circumstances in the best way possible to have an outcome where, there's positivity on the outside of it, regardless of how difficult it was, whatever that said life experience was. They help you. They don't just fix you, right? Because it's got to be mutual. And there's still work that has to be put in with your therapist, but they are definitely a guide in helping you reach your own goals and get you out of some of the, the day-to-day minutia that you're used to help you realize what's going on. And you're able to come to realizations oftentimes on your own with the support of a therapist, right?
Yeah. It's incredible. The revelations I've had, during therapy. It's been a game changer.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Like I said, I'm in therapy every week. Still working.
Yeah. But also my husband is a great resource for me. He is someone I can talk to, and he'll also, check in with me like, do you need me to fix this for you? Or do you just want to vent? And a lot of times it's just me venting. So he's a great sport about that. And my mom too, she's a good sounding board for me, which is nice. So I have some really good support systems in place.
And you said she's a good sounding board, and I didn't mean to cut you off as you were talking, but with your husband asking, I want to go back to this, asking, do you want me to help you solve this, or do you just need a vent? Hello, that is amazing and huge for so many reasons, because I think even outside of a husband-wife relationship, that question, even, professionally, when you're showing up for somebody who is coming to the table with something challenging, asking out loud, is this something you want me to help solve? Or are you seeking this to be a venting conversation?
Yeah.
I imagine on that level too, I know you likely provide the same type of support to your team, and give them an avenue to have venting sessions, because we all need them, whether
We
it's
do need them.
at work or with the husband, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's good. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you have a solid support system, because I think that can really help somebody progress forward in whatever needs overcoming. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. The other thing he's really good about doing is if he recognizes when I'm in a bad mood or something's bothering me or I'm having a bad day. He like has this sixth sense about it, right? And instead of assuming that I'm upset with him, he asks me, he says, I can tell you're off. Did I do something? And he doesn't just immediately take it personally. He asks me, and if it's something he did, then we can talk about it. And it's a good way for him to bring it up, because if I don't want to bring it up, then I know he will. But I mean, 95% of the time it's nothing he's done. It's just me having a bad day, and he can be supportive in other ways, like make me food or, take care of something that I need done. And so it's nice. He's a great partner in that way.
Yeah. And how does he or other friends and family support your journey as it relates to working out?
Yeah, I met my now husband while I was prepping for my competition. So that made a really interesting dating life. When we first started dating, I basically drank water and ate nothing on dates because I couldn't eat anything at restaurants. Typically, there wasn't anything allowed. And then, we'd go to like a brewery or something and I'd get water, and, it was interesting. We laugh about it now.
That takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah. But he was so helpful. And I think it was like our fourth or fifth date we met, and we were going to walk around outside. It was a really hot day. We were going to the Chalk Art Festival, and, we had just started dating. So I wasn't like, just like, okay, I don't know if this guy really likes me or if he just keeps asking me out to just have somebody to go do stuff with. I wasn't really sure.
Syndrome.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was like, oh, does he really like me, or, what are we doing here? But I showed up to the date and he had bought me water, because it was a really hot day, and he had bought me water, and I was like, oh man, this guy's great. I think I'm going to marry him someday. So it all worked out. He is so supportive. And he understands when I need it. And he's really, he's just a great partner in so many ways. But yeah, if I need to go work out or I want to go to a yoga class, we'll switch our drop off pickups with the kids, or he'll, cover something for me that I normally do, so that I can make that work for my schedule. So it's great.
It makes all the difference to have a partner with you in all of those things, doesn't it?
It does. And he's not a gym person. He doesn't go to a gym and work out. He's more of the just active type. Like, he's out doing yard work. He's walking the dog. He does some workouts, here at the house. But he just stays active. That's kind of his way of, staying healthy and active. And whereas I like to go to the gym, I like to lift weights. And he that's just not something that interests him. He'll go play tennis, or he'll go for a run, or, so we're very different in our, the ways we like to move our body, but he's very supportive.
But that's okay, right? And I think that's one of those things for you listening at home, that it looks so different for everybody. And my level of body movement in this current phase of my life is probably very little compared to many other people, but that's where we try and stay away from the comparison game, right? Because everybody's circumstances is so different from one another. And we also go through seasons in our life where, as you've already, shared within your journey, there were times that you were uber dedicated. And it's not that you're any less dedicated now. It's just life circumstances mean that moving your body looks a little different these times,
Yeah.
In these days. And so I think it's just a good reminder that it doesn't have to be lifting weights. It could be going out and playing tennis or doing the yard work and just getting out, maybe taking a short stroll, or chasing dinosaurs or, I'm sorry, dragons with your little kids, right?
Right. Yeah.
Good. So as we look to wrap up, I would love to hear from you what tips you have that you would like to leave behind for everyone.
Yeah. I would just encourage people to find a community. I found a great community in the gym and people just in my life in general. But if you do want to start working out and kind of building muscle and really, taking that next step, I would highly recommend working with a trainer. And if you have any kind of aches and pains or, any kind of injuries that you need to work on and you feel like, oh, well, I can't work out because I have this injury. And I have also been going to a physical therapist to work on, I had an injury with my shoulder. And that was a really great way to get movement and feel better and get my body back to where it should be. I'm happy to say my shoulder is better. And that was a really good experience as well. But group classes, boot camps, yoga, even if your neighborhood has, kind of a group that maybe goes for walks or plays tennis or something like that. But if working out isn't your thing, if physical, movement isn't your thing, I think community is still the key here. And so like a book club or a dinner club or volunteering somewhere in your local community, I think just getting out and being around people and having some community can also be a great way to find some energy on those dark days.
Yeah. And I want to comment too, because I know volunteering is something that you do as well. You have some really neat things coming up, and you volunteer on the Children's Hospital of Colorado, the YPC board, and you help raise money for different events like Fun Run and a gala. And so I think you embody this approach with community in multiple ways in your life. So I love that you brought it full circle, even if you aren't the working out type, to find community, because you also have community with your girlfriends in your group chat, right? So I think that's huge.
Yeah, there's some really easy things that we can do that will improve our mental health. And even if it's uncomfortable at first, I think putting yourself out there and building a community and being part of one, it's such an important part of your life to be in other people's lives, right? Like having that reciprocal relationship with other people and finding a common interest to do that, I think is key to some happiness.
For sure. And I think one thing I would add to that, all of that, is showing up for yourself is big, right? And doing things for yourself. It takes the pride and the self-confidence to a different level when you're doing things for you. So I think that is another thing to highlight as you're looking for opportunities to work on either your mental health or your overall demeanor and things of that nature. So showing up for yourself is another key element.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do you have any other last words for the listeners?
I think just take care of yourself and make sure that you're showing up for yourself and doing the things that make you happy.
Yes, I love that so much. Doing the things that make you happy. Well, Christie, it has been fabulous having you on and learning more about your journey. So thank you so much for joining Honestly Mental, the podcast, as a guest. I greatly appreciate it. And then thank you for listening, and we'll be back for another episode. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share. That's how we get the word out and help as many people as possible. Thank you.